The question is, how can you ensure that you are less manipulatable? Get your coffee. One of the fascinating things that happens in the Passion Week, that is, the days between the triumphal entry on Palm Sunday through the resurrection on Easter Sunday, is the shift among the people in Jerusalem. In the gospel record of the triumphal entry, we see the people, the crowds gathered together and singing as Jesus comes into Jerusalem. Psalm 118, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. As this is happening, as they are laying the palm branches before Jesus and very clearly announcing him to be Christ, Messiah, and King, the Pharisees say to Jesus, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." The Pharisees in the crowd knew exactly what the multitudes were doing and saying as they were putting the palm branches down on the ground and as they're crying out, "Hosanna, save now." The multitudes were acknowledging the true identity of Jesus, and they're announcing him as King and Christ. And so the Pharisees, they are indignant about this. They can't believe that this is happening, and they say, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." That was Palm Sunday. That was the triumphal entry. But by the end of the week, on Good Friday, we read in Luke chapter 23 that the crowd was now shouting, crucify him," as they stood before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Where public opinion is concerned, it is pretty amazing how quickly things can change. The pendulum of public opinion swings far and fast from one end to the other. One of the comical shifts in popular opinion recorded in the Bible is the story of the Apostle Paul on the island of Malta. When he and the other survivors of the shipwreck on Malta arrive on the shore, Paul is helping to gather sticks for a fire to warm the survivors of the storm and of the shipwreck. And when he threw the sticks on the fire, a snake came out and fastened to his hand and bit him, and he just shakes it off into the fire. And when the native people of Malta saw this, they said, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom, though he has escaped the sea, yet justice does not allow him to live." But the scriptures say that Paul, after he shook the creature off into the fire, he suffered no harm. And when the native people there on the island didn't see him swell up and suddenly die, they changed their minds about him and said he must be a god. Opinions can move very quickly. They can move from things like defund the police to refund the police rather quickly. A politician can run on a platform that is against same-sex marriage in one term and then be for same-sex marriage in the next. Views on the criminality of narcotics have changed drastically in the last 15 years, and views on the reliability of the news have changed quite a bit as well. Trust in institutions has slid, and public opinion surrounding free trade and immigration, they're in a constant state of flux, kind of back and forth. I think that people are far more easily persuadable than they might be willing to admit or even to believe themselves to be. Or perhaps we are much more manipulatable than we want to accept. And clearly there are a lot of external forces trying to manipulate or persuade or influence or nudge us in this direction or that. Ultimately, that's what marketing is all about. The question is, how can you ensure that you are less manipulatable? Unfortunately, I don't think that it's possible to ensure that you are unmanipulatable, but the only way to make sure that you are more steadfast and immovable is to grow in the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and faith of Christ, to mature unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, so that you are no longer a child tossed and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting. Something to think about. We'll see you next time.